Hello and welcome to News Centre. I'm Parikshit Luthra. The Supreme Court Collegium has repatriated Delhi High Court Judge Justice Yashwant Varma back to his parent High Court after reports of unaccounted cash being discovered at his official residence. As per reports, the pile of cash was found when a fire brigade reached the judge's residence to douse a fire on March 14th. Justice Varma was out of town at that time. The matter was ultimately brought to the notice of the Chief Justice of India. The collegium comprising the apex court's senior-most judges has also ordered an in-house inquiry and said that Justice Varma's transfer to Allahabad High Court, his parent court, is only the first step of disciplinary action being contemplated. However, the Allahabad High Court Bar Association, in a strongly worded letter, opposed his transfer while emphasizing that they aren't a trash bin. The latest extraordinary sequence of events has put the judiciary in a spot of bother. To take this forward, I'm now joined by senior Supreme Court lawyers Sanjay, Hegde, Dushyant. Also on the program is Faizan Mustafa, Vice-Chancellor at the Chanakya National Law University in Patna. He's also the founding Vice-Chancellor of the National Law University in Odisha. Mr. Dave, if I can begin with you, what everyone is asking, is a mere transfer to your parent High Court enough?
Well, it certainly is not enough. And, Prevention of Corruption Act applies to every government official. I mean, the moment this kind of situation develops, the officer is immediately suspended and criminal prosecution is launched. Now, judiciary is protected, unfortunately, to ensure independence of judiciary, and therefore it can't be done straight away. But I do feel that there are exceptions, and if this kind of money, if it is recovered as it is being said, we have no idea about the details. But if it is true, then I don't see why judges should not make an exception in this case and set an example, and not only withdraw judicial work from him straight away, but also perhaps permit the prosecution agencies to launch prosecution against him forthwith. So I think unless you do this, you see, there is no stopping at what is happening. I mean, this, I feel this is a tip of an iceberg. There is large-scale corruption in judiciary, and unfortunately, there are so many honest judges who are being maligned because of few bad rotten apples. And these honest judges, unfortunately, are not able to stand up and speak out against their colleagues, nor is the bar able to stand up and speak. So I think this is a good example or a good situation where I think collegium should set a very, very strong example so that judiciary across the country really understand that this is going to be treated very seriously, and there'll be zero tolerance towards it.
Mr. Dave, what I'd also like to ask you now, this incident took place around 11 p.m. on 14th of March. There was a call to the fire department, and the fire station 3 kilometers away sent a vehicle to douse the fire, which was in a storeroom. There was a pile of cash that was recovered. Fire department officials, police officials who were first responders saw it. Do you think it is very important to disclose the amount of cash that was discovered? Do you think the Supreme Court, the collegium, should be making that public as well?
Well, I am sure the nation is entitled to know what is happening. I mean, judiciary is, part and parcel of our life. And if judiciary hides behind a cloak of secrecy, then I think nothing is left. So judges are, I think, obligated, collegium is obligated, and the police should be permitted, and media should strive to find out from the police, because every day, you are seeing ordinary, cases of criminal cases where all prosecution agencies, including CBI, ED and all, selectively leak the information to the media, and media goes on reporting it left, right and center. And so they might as well do it in this case. Nothing wrong about it, because it's important to know. They should also perhaps leak as to what is the link of this cash, probable link to a pending case before the learned judge, if it is true, or, with some other actors who may be involved in this. So I think nothing wrong. You disclose it every day to the media, especially, when it comes to the opposition leaders and critics. And therefore, you might as well do it now. I think nation wants to know, right, and nation should know.
All right, Mr. Hegde, coming to you, there have been reports how members of the collegium, an in-house inquiry has been ordered, the judge has been transferred, but there are members of the collegium who were of the view that stronger action was needed to send out a message of confidence, that people should be confident about the judiciary. What is your view, sir?
Well, everybody is entitled to have their views. Some may think that a mere transfer is not enough. Well, the transfer was only the first stage. It is going to be followed by an in-house inquiry. The other judges do not have the power of removal from office. That lies with Parliament in an impeachment proceeding, which is a solemn proceeding. Now, before you launch into that, there is going to be an in-house inquiry, and it may very well be that the collegium then, based on the inquiry, suggests to Parliament that the judge concerned be impeached if, in the meanwhile, the judge himself does not take corrective action. Often this process of putting things out in the public domain is a process also of persuading the judge concerned to see reason. Let me first put it on record that Justice Varma was known to be a well-read, well-mannered, and industrious judge. Mr. Dave and others may know more, but I have personally not heard of anything going largely amiss with Justice Varma. We do not know what the amount of cash was. We do not know whether there is any plausible explanation. I would, before rushing to judgment, would prefer to let the story play out for a day or two. I do hope, for the sake of the institution, that there is an explanation speedily forthcoming. If there isn't, I also hope that for the institution, that corrective steps are taken by the judge himself. The point is that irrespective of the individual, it is the institution which is larger, and the institutional integrity is a burden upon all people, whether from the bar or from the bench.
Right. What questions come to your mind, Mr. Hegde? As we were speaking about, this incident happened on the 14th of March. The judge and his family were not at their residence when this happened. The police and the fire department officials were the first respondents. Do you also believe that as per due process, as per laid down guidelines, the judge in question, Yashwant Varma, must have given a justification and explanation to the collegium as well, or at least an explanation to the Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court?
I'm sure an explanation was sought for and something or the other must have been proffered. It may well be that that was prima facie not found satisfactory. Therefore, further steps have been undertaken. The questions that come to my mind, and I think these are legitimate questions, and it could have been suitable action could have been taken by the collegium themselves. What was the amount in question? Because if you keep quiet on the amount, all kinds of rumors float around. You also may remember that recently at a particular parliamentarian seat, some cash was found. Now, the amount there was so minuscule compared to that parliamentarian's known sources of income that everybody laughed it off. So today, what was the amount which the fire brigade prima facie thought they had found? And what that at least the public is entitled to know, and it should be put out as fast as possible so that unnecessary speculation ceases.
Does not happen. All right, sir. I'm going to give you a break till you have some water. Let me get in Mr. Faizan at this point. Mr. Faizan, thank you for waiting patiently. Now, as we were discussing earlier, the collegium has taken note of this. The matter had reached the Chief Justice. An in-house inquiry has been ordered. The judge in question has been transferred. How fast do you think the inquiry is going to take place? And by when do you think this is expected to get over? Because when it comes to corruption in the judiciary, this is a norm. This is a set formula by which investigations take place. How soon do you think a report would be submitted and a final action taken?
Thank you very much, Parikshit. First of all, I would say blame me if you have bad judges or bad lawyers, we law teachers must confess that we have given them degrees and we have not been great teachers. We have not inculcated much needed values in lawyers and judges. So as a law teacher, I must admit that it's our mistake. Having said that, we have been trying to protect judges for a very good reason, that independence of judiciary is to be protected. Judges should not be easily removed. They should not be troubled with frivolous and motivated allegations. I'm not going into the details of Justice Varma and how much money was recovered. I entirely agree with both Mr. Dave as well as Mr. Hegde, but nobody stops Justice Varma from speaking. So he, on his own volition, can come forward and make a statement that this was a. Nobody has taken away his right to free speech. Of course, an accused has a right to silence at trial, but there is no trial as of now. So he can speak if he wants. Now, our experience, Parikshit, of such cases is very disappointing. No timelines can be really talked about. There have been cases from Allahabad itself where a judge was not given a judicial work for over 13 months. No judicial work. And he was given the leave by the government and by the system. I don't know which kind of leave was that. There have been number of such cases where even attempts of impeachment did not lead to any conclusion. There have been political decisions in case of Justice Ramaswamy. There have been cases where, nothing much came out. As a result, many people within the legal fraternity today feel that our judges are not really held accountable. And this transfer thing is also very funny. If you transfer one judge, generally the transfer happens to Northeast, which means that the people in Northeast high courts don't deserve honest, impartial, and competent judges. And I agree with, Hegde that Justice Varma is relatively a good judge, a well-read judge, a reasonably good judge. But when you transfer somebody to the parent high court, this is a reward rather than a punishment, because generally people are transferred from the parent high court because there is something.
On that note, let me get in Mr. Dave also, Mr. Faizan. Mr. Dave, the Allahabad High Court Bar Association has put out a very strongly worded statement. The headline there is, "We are not a trash bin." How do you see this?
I think it's a correct approach. They are entitled to say that if a judge has been found, ostensibly involved in having unaccounted cash, which leads to presumption of some kind of corruption or some kind of wrongdoing, why should that High Court be saddled with such a judge? So I don't think it is right to transfer him like that. The collegium should have been very careful. They should have simply, withdrawn judicial work from him, and they should have perhaps persuaded him. I remember many years ago, one such judge faced, inquiry in Bombay or charges in Bombay. And then Chief Justice of India, Justice Ahmadi, very quietly called him and told him that, brother, if you don't resign, we have enough material to order prosecution against you. And he was made to resign. So I think that kind of a, neck is required. I think Chief Justice should have really, taken that kind of an approach rather than keep such a person into the system. Because I don't think, as Mr. Faizan Ahmed rightly points out, he should come out and explain himself. But what can he explain? I mean, if you have unaccounted money in your house, presumption is that it is your money. Unless you are harboring it for somebody else. So what can he come and explain also? And I don't think, my own feeling is that, although he was a good judge, and as I agree with both Hegde and Mr. Mustafa, but I mean, I have seen many judges who have been good in the past, in last 46 years, who are ostensibly good, but who are hiding behind that goodness by into doing some things which are very wrong. And I have publicly spoken about these judges again and again over the last 25, 30 years. So I feel that, yes, he should not be sent to Allahabad. He should be simply asked to, step down, step away from the work, and perhaps persuaded or maybe cajoled or coerced into resigning by the collegium.
All right, let me now go across to Mr. Hegde. Mr. Hegde, now there are two things to it. Do you feel the entire method of investigating corruption in the higher judiciary needs to be revisited? Number two, now there are two bodies which have information about what has happened. One would be the local authorities, the executive, that is the police, the fire department, the law ministry. They would have information, first-hand information of what has transpired. They must have made diary entries of whatever was found, whatever happened at the spot, and possibly the reason for the fire as well. Secondly, you would have the judiciary, which has the information and explanation from the judge in question, and also maybe information from the government. What do you think can be done in future to bring more transparency so that there is confidence in the judiciary, and the average citizen of the country knows that in case there is corruption, it would come out in a very, very transparent manner. It would be there on the Supreme Court website, on government websites, and you would get to know exactly what's happening?
Well, it would have to be the judiciary to take a call. It cannot be left to the executive, because the moment you leave it to the executive concerned, you also run the danger that the next time a judge is hearing a sensitive case, at the same time, allegations can be procured or some kind of incident engineered. So therefore, the judiciary has seen to it that any complaints of this kind will not go unanswered. The judiciary has put in its mechanisms. Whether those mechanisms work fast enough, whether they are transparent enough, and whether they are sufficient, that is a matter of debate. But the responsibility of running a clean judiciary must currently vest with the judiciary. The moment you allow outside interference, you will have an imbalance where the independence of the judiciary may be impaired. As far as Justice Varma himself is concerned, it is for him to come out with an explanation precisely because people today think that there is no possible explanation, and that the process being drawn out like this, even if necessary, casts a shadow on the entire judiciary. To use a rather bad